You are listening to the New American Media. You are listening to the New American Media.
And we're back, and we're shifting gears from the Unhappy Hour, the only Cleveland-centric, Los Angeles-based sports show that we're currently aware of. Thank you very much to Ben Weinbrower from Existential Radio for joining us, talking some Tribe, some Cleveland Indians baseball. And special thanks to Zach Barris, NBA scout and lifelong Cleveland sports fan, for talking some NBA action. Appreciate both of them. But we're going to switch things over just a little bit now, and we're going to bring in Blake, the eccentric Walley. He's a radio host. Well, I'll let Blake explain who he is and where he comes from, but I do radio shows with Blake, and we're actually working on another show. Details coming soon. I keep saying it. Sorry. Just some, good things come to those who wait, but we're working on yet another syndicated radio show. Details coming soon. You can find them on the Freedomizer Radio Network from noon to 1:30 p.m. Pacific every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday on a show called Eccentric Perspective. So without further ado, we're going to bring in Blake Walley to the program.
Hello.
Blake, you're live on the air. How's it going, sir?
Excellent, Brian. How are you?
I'm living the dream, of course. I mean, it's my birthday. How could I not be living the dream, right?
Oh, that's right. Happy birthday, Brian.
Hey, thanks. Did you get me a Living the Dream t-shirt from Target? Or where were you at, Kohl's?
Kohl's. No, I forgot all about that since we last discussed that.
It's all right.
Next time I'm in Kohl's.
All right. Well, you can buy me a beer next time we meet. Yeah, you'll have to make your way to Los Angeles one of these days. You owe me a visit now since I went to your backyard.
Yes, that is true.
So we'll have to find something crazy going on over here, and we'll have to come out and cover it, maybe do a man on the street or something. But Blake, I briefly introduced people to who you are and what you do, but just take the floor for a second, introduce yourself to people, tell them where they can find you, tell them what you do on your radio show, why you do it, and then really let's just get to Benghazi, shall we?
Sure, absolutely. I am Blake Walley, or Blake the Eccentric, and I run a little radio show called The Eccentric Perspective, and I have a website at eccentricperspective.com. I don't know, got pretty concerned about all the crazy things going on in the world, and decided to take action. Started writing articles, speaking truth to power, all that good stuff, and then eventually worked my way into radio, where I'm at freedomizerradio.com Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 12 to 1:30 Pacific time, and I also have an archive at Blog Talk, and you can also subscribe to the podcast by going to iTunes and searching for Eccentric Perspective.
So when you say that you got concerned about what's going on the planet, basically what you're saying is that you're an extremist, right? You're a dangerous extremist, and you're proud of it. You want to wear that T-shirt?
I'm somebody who, questions what I'm told and looks further into the evidence and looks at the facts, and
Oh, okay. So you don't make a good sheeple. That is basically what you're saying. You're not a good not a good servant or a serf or a subject.
Yes, my head is not in the sand. I'm very curious. I'm always asking questions, and
Well, something you've been covering pretty strong this week, and this is one of the number one stories. I just want to get right into it. Benghazi.
The number one story. There's distractions, and then there's this.
Hey, let me tell you, the Cleveland Indians are on quite a roll. Let me tell you about the real number one story. The Cleveland Indians, a game out of first place.
Yeah, who cares about Benghazi? That's a good point, Brian. Why don't we let's get into baseball?
Yeah, can we talk Duck Dynasty, baseball, Honey Boo Boo? Can we talk about Jody Arias and a whole bunch of other crap that doesn't matter? Anyway, let's get into Benghazi, because you really covered this pretty. I would say for this week you covered it more than I did. Because the way that it worked out, and I've been railing on this Benghazi story ever since it happened, because it stunk to heaven. It was just it's always struck me as wrong. It struck me as just sinister. So why don't you share with everybody, what have you been finding? What was going on with these hearings? What did you glean out of it? Based on the media response, did you get the questions answered? Does it raise more questions? I mean, just pick it up for wherever you want to start with, because there's a lot to talk about.
Well, I guess the main point here is that 8 months ago, I guess after these attacks took place, so we've been trying to talk to the survivors and find out what happened, and the administration has stonewalled this. They've given their testimony a little bit. Of course, Hillary Clinton gave her kind of infamous testimony with some sound bites. But anyway, these whistleblowers have finally, the what difference does it make comments. But anyway, these whistleblowers have finally gotten their chance to speak, and their stories contradict the official stories, and that is a big deal because that could lead to some heads rolling, so to speak, in the State Department, and it could lead all the way up to impeachment of Obama himself. And I was just looking at some of the articles recently. There's even an article from Mediaite today with the MSNBC hosts, with even MSNBC panel even bringing up the big impeachment word. So that's a big deal.
Sorry,
Right.
I couldn't resist.
Yes, always good. And when MSNBC is talking about impeachment, then you know it's serious. And ABC even today made a scathing article today as well. I don't have that in front of me, but yes, when the so-called liberal media is now getting into this, now you know things are getting serious. So,
well, you talk about Hillary's infamous remarks. Let's just reset it for everybody.
We were misled that there were supposedly protests and then something sprang out of that, an assault sprang out of that. And that was easily ascertained that was not the fact. And the American people could have known that within days, and they didn't know that.
With all due respect, the fact is we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make? It is our job to figure out what happened and do everything we can to prevent it from ever happening again, Senator. Now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the difference is that, she lied, and then they said it was a big YouTube video, even when they knew it had nothing to do with the YouTube video, and I think there was a part where she was, like, standing in front of coffins of the dead and telling the relatives that, it's because of the YouTube video.
You know what that was for me, Blake? That was the wag the dog moment. You know, where good old Shoe comes home. Woody Harrelson's. I don't know how long it's been since you've seen Wag the Dog, but do yourself a favor if you haven't in a while, watch it again.
7, 8 years, yeah, but I have seen it. That's a good movie.
And it reminds me of that because, you know, the narrative on this is kind of, well, what difference does it make? And it was a long time ago. Let me just pull this up for you real quick. This is Jay Carney at a press briefing. This is from May 1, so about 9 days ago. Just, you know, here's how the administration is handling Benghazi, the sensitive issue, what was screwed up, and who knew what and when, and why were you blaming the First Amendment and blaming people that are critical of Islam, and why did you not protect them when they asked for help? Why did you not send for help for 7 hours? When they were getting slaughtered, when you're getting a good night's sleep to go party with Jay-Z and Beyonce the next night. I mean, any of these questions that could be answered. Here's what Jay Carney has to say. The like John and Ken out here on KFI AM 640 say the spokeshole. Here's White House spokeshole Jay Carney talking about Benghazi.
Last thing on Benghazi, since the President spoke yesterday briefly about that, the Defense Department and the State Department both have written letters, as I understand it, to Republican Darrell Issa saying that they're not aware of anyone coming to them asking for security clearances for their counsel or anything to come forward. Mm-hmm. First, is that your understanding? And second, if someone were to come forward, if they just haven't technically told their superior or something, if they were to come forward, is the White House willing to let them testify?
Well, again, I mean, that's a hypothetical, but let's be clear. Benghazi happened a long time ago. We are unaware of any agency blocking an employee who would like to appear before Congress to provide information related to Benghazi.
What does just one more time? Why is that the thing you lead with?
Again, I mean, that's a hypothetical, but let's be clear.
Yeah, let's be clear.
Benghazi happened a long time ago. We are unaware of any agency blocking an employee who would like to appear before Congress to provide information related to Benghazi.
It happened a long time ago. So that's meant to say, hey, stupid, shut up. Obviously, we survived this and whatever. I don't. Anyway, Blake, I'm going to shut up and just let you go.
Right. I know there's, Carney's full of sound bites. I know I posted an article yesterday on that showing all the different, over like several months of reporters basically asking him the same questions and then him basically giving the same answers, except he looks more and more flustered each time. Yes, and he's, of course, out today. There was a big meeting, and he's out saying that this Benghazi scandal is just a distraction from all of the key issues. And then he went on to talk about how well the Cleveland Indians have been playing. So we can back you up. All right.
Nicely done. Well, they were doing well. They were up 1-0. Now they're down 4-1 in Detroit. So yeah, maybe not so much. But so why should people care? And you know, you did a really good analysis. You broke down. I did your show. What was that? Yesterday over on Eccentric Perspective. Did a little bit of a cameo. My schedule opened up. But I was able
more
to,
than a cameo. We did about an hour and a half together, pretty much, or almost 2 hours. That was a good time. We did it. Usually I do an hour and a half show. We did a 3-hour show yesterday.
Yeah, you know, I love guerrilla radio. It's fantastic. You know, whenever we feel like talking and it's like, I just don't know what to make of this. It's like, all right, I got to get someone on the phone and hash this out. You know, I can't be the only one thinking this stuff. You know, and that was one of the big things that I liked about Glenn Beck when the economy was crashing and stuff. I really liked his program on Fox. And it just kept reminding, you know, we outnumber them. There are more of us than them. We surround them. We are not crazy for thinking, you know, and of course some of the things Beck gets into obviously are a little out there, but everything is something everybody gets into is a little out there compared to what you think. But, you know, we surround them. There are more people that are concerned about this than people that aren't. We're fired up because that could have been our cousin out there. You know, I have friends and family serving in the military. That could have been... That could have been any number of friends and family members in my life right now that could have been left for dead. Why did they leave them for dead? And that's part of the conversation that they were having with the whistleblowers, right? Can you elaborate on what these whistleblowers were specifically saying?
Well, you know what? Why don't I get to, there's an article here. It's called The Damning Dozen. And I believe this is going to, these are 12 revelations that we learned from the Benghazi hearing. So why don't I just go over that? I'll make it a lot easier.
Yeah, and you know what? By the way, let me say this for anyone that wants to check out the story. If you get the chance, Blake, to tweet that out, I'll just remind everybody that you can follow Blake. He's pretty active on Twitter. You can find him. He's at Eccentric99. So if you want to tweet that out, Blake, people can follow you there. I always try to promote your Twitter feed whenever I get the chance.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I'll probably kind of going over all the stories of the day. This will probably be in my highlights when it's all said and done. You know, probably the next within a half an hour of the show ending. So, but it is out of townhall.com, and it's called The Damning Dozen: 12 Revelations from the Benghazi Hearings. It actually came out last night. But at least it's something that's nice that breaks it all down for gets the little bullet points out here. So we got number 1, murdered U.S. Ambassador Chris Stevens' second-in-command, Gregory Hicks, who is the star witness of this trial here, was instructed not to speak with a congressional investigator by Secretary Hillary Clinton's chief of staff, Cheryl Mills. Hicks said he'd never faced a similar demand at any point during his distinguished 22-year diplomatic career, and when he refused to comply with this request, the State Department dispatched an attorney to act as a minder who insisted on sitting in on all of Hicks' discussions with members of Congress. So it's a big deal because one of the main, I'd say, prosecutors, if you will, has been this Benghazi thing and pushing this along has been Jason Chaffetz of Utah, and I supposedly he went to go speak with these witnesses. We couldn't figure out exactly who the survivors were, who they were. I mean, they stonewalled for 8 months. They didn't want to. I guess apparently didn't want that information getting out, and so they didn't want this guy to speak. And then once they kind of, since he wouldn't, I guess, go along with whatever pre-planned story they wanted to push out, then they had to put a State Department lawyer to follow him around everywhere so that they could make sure to, get their side of the story across, I suppose. So it's a big deal. And that's just number 1. So, number 2, when Hicks began to voice objections to the administration's inaccurate talking points with the State Department higher-ups, the administration got hostile. So after being lavishly praised, because he's a distinguished guy with a great career, they decided to launch into a big blistering critique. And then he was actually demoted. And then he ended up calling Susan Rice's talking points stunning and embarrassing because he was there. He knew what was going on in Benghazi. It was a big terrorist attack going on, and then he turns on the TV a few days later, and then what do you know? You got Susan Rice saying this whole thing started because of a spontaneous demonstration over a YouTube video, and that was absolutely a lie from the very beginning. No one ever said anything about that. And then you see the person, the people that are representing you, and they're lying about it, and including contradicting what the Libyan president said and embarrassing him. So it's a very very bad day there. So I don't know if we can keep continuing here. I don't want to get
No, no. Here's
right.
what I'm saying. There's enough time. If someone's going to click on this story, and if someone's going to listen to it live, if someone's going to get into it, let's get into it. Let's break it down point by point, because people like Rachel Maddow, people like, well, yeah.
Yeah, they will ignore every single thing that was said and then say this is a whole big partisan issue. This is just a thing for the Republicans to go after Hillary and go after Obama. Yeah, blah, blah, blah.
Well,
but they won't actually get into any of the details of this.
And they say that it's a conspiracy theory, that there's no fact to all of this. But we're all crazy for listening to the words of respected people that are not towing the party line. So it's
not like they're
important
debunking it. Yeah,
No.
they're not going to go piece by piece and make a rebuttal for all these things. No. They're just going to call us crazy and then basically trick their audience into thinking that the other side's points are so crazy that they shouldn't even listen to them. That's how scary the media has gotten these days with misleading the public. They're supposed to be informing them, not keeping them in the dark. Go ahead.
I was just going to say I had a friend reply to me. I sent something out. I think it was on my personal Facebook or something, and it was what was it? Fort Hood, the Boston bombing, Benghazi, something else, and it said, "Sir, we can't keep sweeping these things under the rug. The lump is becoming noticeable."
Yeah, the lump is it's an 800-pound gorilla or an elephant. Yeah, and we're still acting like it's not there.
Well, and then my buddy that he replies, he's like, those are the Fox News talking point, and I'm giving him the cool guy voice, obviously, but he's like, those are you know what? Why don't you read the next one? I'm actually going to pull up the thread so I can say it word for word. Continue on the next point.
I could pull up Mediaite. I could pull up Raw Story. I could pull up Crooks and Liars. I could pull up Think Progress. I could pull up Daily Kos. That's exactly the same thing I'm going to see. It is somebody can articulate a point and say, this is wrong, Benghazi, blah, 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 and that's usually what you get from these so-called liberals, the fans of these sorts of things. It's like, oh, that's just a bunch of Fox News, blah, blah, Fox, Republicans, oh, GOP, you just hate Hillary, ha, 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 you lost. It's really ridiculous. But Twitter has been absolute joy to watch the last couple of days, and just checking the message boards and all the arguments and debates going on. It's been great. But sorry, I'm getting distracted here. Should I get to number 3, Brian?
Yeah,
Are we ready to
absolutely.
move on?
I'm gonna scroll down. I got to find this conversation to explain. Just like when I had a gun control debate, I was out at my buddy's birthday party at this pretty historic kind of like jazz and R&B club out in Los Angeles, and talking to this lady. She's from Somalia? No, Ethiopia, I think. And she was saying that she moved over here. And she was talking about the gold standard. She was talking about libertarians. She was down with like a lot of common sense, normal stuff. Well, I guess fringe, but like fringe to me is normal at this point.
Yeah, fringe to MSNBC. Yeah.
Well, if you're fringe to the mainstream dinosaur media, then you're mainstream with me. You're all right in my book. But then she started like getting into all this anti-gun stuff, and I couldn't understand where she was coming from, and I referenced the Founding Fathers about trying to like get away from oppression and tyranny from a king and a church, and she's like, they had slaves here, and I'm like, gosh, okay, so all right, so everything that was good doesn't count because a bad thing was occurring also. It's just throwing the baby out with the bathwater, cutting your nose off to spite your face. Well, those Founding Fathers had nothing good to say or do because they had slaves. Wow, great point, because the system they set up, it was inherently designed to destroy slavery, and guess what? We did have that with a bloody Civil War, and that stuff's gone. They were pretty brilliant how they did that, but yeah, you just want to discount all of their theories, and it's kind of the same thing with the mainstream media. If it doesn't fit their propaganda, they got to destroy it without even referencing fact.
Well, it's really ignorant, because if you could imagine, if there was no forefathers, or there had been no Revolutionary War, if there was no Constitution, I mean, that was just such a huge. You're talking about a world that has largely been run by dictatorships, oppressive monarchies, despots. Neo-feudalism, or not neo-feudalism, sorry, just regular feudalism. That was pretty much the norm across the world, and there's slavery pretty much in every culture for, hundreds or thousands of years. So that's just really stupid, and that's the greatest document, for freedom, and that just basically set dominoes flying that, really changed the world. The Constitution, the Bill of Rights, that was pretty much unheard of then. So, we could be still living in some sort of awful dark age today, and it's still, even the United States could be still a colony of England for all we know. We could be run by the British Crown. So, I mean, that's really stupid to, demonize the forefathers for, just to cherry pick the slavery thing.
Which was a significant
it's
thing.
It's a more complicated issue.
Yes, it is way more complicated than that. Let me just say this: as I would give out my personal Facebook page, but I just go to the New American Media, like the New American Media page. We'll stick with that. But this was one that got sent out. It's a meme of Charles Ramsey, the guy that helped get that girl, those 3 girls out of that rape and torture house and the kidnap house in Cleveland. And it says this. It's a meme. It's got Charles Ramsey up on top, and then it has the Hillary and Barack Obama picture with the Marines with the caskets at the bottom. So it has a picture of Charles Ramsey. It says saves 3 while eating dinner, and at the bottom with Hillary and Barack it says 4 died while they watched for 7 hours. And the explanation here is we have heroes in the streets and zeros in our government. This man saved 3 lives while eating McDonald's when he heard cries for help. The Obama administration watched in real time as 4 Americans fought for their lives for 7 hours. They called repeatedly for help but were denied every time. They could have unleashed the might of the special forces who begged to go in and rescue these people. Instead, they ordered our troops to stand down. Maybe next time we can send Charles Ramsey with a Happy Meal to rescue Americans. If you support Obama, please, well, anyway, I'll leave the last part out. But you get the point. This guy's just a neighbor, and he changes the lives and just ends a nightmare for all these girls. And our administration, they're watching in real time, and they're ordering stand-down orders. Why in the hell were they not protecting them, Blake? I don't get it.
Well, yeah, we're going to just find out and get those question answers. I mean, obviously there's some very good explanations from other people, or potential reasons why. We can speculate all we want, but it's important just to get call Hillary back up. And of course, today I did see an article that same Representative Chaffetz that I was mentioning earlier is saying Hillary Clinton must testify again about Benghazi attacks, and they will subpoena if necessary. So, because this testimony was directly contradicting hers. So somebody's lying, and we're going to have to get to the truth eventually. We can't allow this to happen without knowing exactly what went down. So it's not a partisan issue. It's about getting the truth out, no matter what it is.
Yeah, good luck pushing that agenda, pal. Good luck with that one.
Right. So, all right, let's get back here. Where were we? Number 3. We got the third revelation here. Secretaries Clinton and Rice stated that the attack arose from spontaneous protests over an obscure YouTube video, but this was never true. And then Hicks directly contradicted by saying the YouTube was a non-event in Libya. He and others on the ground recognized the raid as a coordinated terrorist attack from the very beginning. Hicks testified that he even personally told Secretary Clinton at 2 a.m. So this guy was on the phone with Hillary at 2 a.m. on the night of the attack with the senior staff.
Which guy are we talking about? Let me make sure I heard this right. Which guy are we talking about that was on the phone with Hillary? Okay, Hicks. Oh, wow. Yeah, okay. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So, and of course, days later, Rice recited the bogus talking points on 5 networks. And Clinton, and then here, again to reiterate here, Clinton denounced the video while standing next to the flag-draped coffins of the fallen. Yeah, that's kind of a big deal if you knowingly lied about a YouTube video, including right next to the dead people's coffins. That's some audacity right there.
Okay.
But anyway, Hicks, yeah.
No, wrap this one up. I found the conversation I wanted to reference, by the way. Go ahead.
Okay, I think we can move on to number 4.
Oh, okay. Let me just jump in here then. What
Sure.
this was, it was tweeted out. It's one of those funny little e-cards on Facebook. It says, Fast and Furious, Fort Hood, Benghazi, Boston bombing? Sir, sweeping these under the carpet is beginning to make a noticeable bulge. And so my friend says,
Right.
Fort Hood in Boston? Are you a conspiracy theorist? My reply, ha! I am curious why the Obama administration classified Fort Hood as workplace violence instead of a terrorist attack. Boston? I still have some questions, but have not reached a concrete conclusion. I am certain that Fast and Furious armed American enemies to kill border agent Brian Terry and others. I know that President Obama used executive privilege to cover up the operation, and Attorney General Eric Holder was found in contempt of court when he would not cooperate with the investigation. In Benghazi. Benghazi is 10 times worse than the botched... This is actually kind of difficult to say. Let me try this again. Benghazi is 10 times worse than the botched burglary of Watergate that toppled a presidency. Why in hell did they not deploy troops to protect American heroes once informed of the attack? Benghazi really boils my blood because that could have happened to any American hero serving in the military. It makes me sick to my stomach to think about. His reply? Go and watch Daily Show from Wednesday. You are using all of the Fox News taglines and comparisons. Watergate? Really? Oh, yeah. Please try to keep your responses to 3 sentences or less. LOL. They want the bumper sticker.
Yeah.
And I just said
Interesting
this. I just said also I don't take cues from Maddow, Stewart, or O'Reilly. When I smell a rat, I hunt the story down. Benghazi is stunk from day one. Go ahead.
Right. Well, you know what? I'm been a huge Daily Show fan for 10 years, but I'm just and I pretty much religiously watch that show. I am having issues lately trying to watch that because it's gotten a lot more. He's gotten a lot. Both Stewart and Colbert have been a lot more, I should say, partisan, divided. With things going on with some of the issues lately, and everybody's pretty much protecting the administration ever since we did a show back in the day called "The Day the Liberal Media Died."
Yeah, set to
October 24th.
That was set to like the day the music
Don
died.
McLean's
Thank you,
Yeah,
Don McLean, American Pie.
Yeah.
The day the liberal media died. Yep,
that was the day all the emails came out contradicting the Benghazi report, saying that the YouTube video was a blatant lie, and then the liberal media basically refused to cover it. Rachel Maddow did her entire show that day without even mentioning it. Jon Stewart also kind of visibly freaked out. Totally changed the format of his show. Also, I don't think he just barely mentioned it. Just turned it into like a fart joke, I think, briefly, and then moved on. It's either a poop or a fart joke. I don't remember which one. And then Colbert kind of twisted it into a Obama got Osama bin Laden type of thing, and it was like, what? It was a very confusing bit there. But I did watch the Daily Show from Wednesday, and his talking points were really some of the things were pretty lame. You're talking about he's distracting from. I actually have a few notes here where he says during the Bush term there was 54 attacks on diplomatic targets that killed 13 Americans, yet garnered only 3 hearings on security and 0 outrage by Fox. Like, these are some of the talking points on the Daily Show. So basically they're saying, well, who cares about Benghazi because there were also attacks on diplomatic targets, except it completely ignores the fact that there were, stand-down orders given. They didn't, there was a lie about a YouTube. I mean, there's a whole other multiple different dimensions to that. That's totally different than this. Which isn't really fair to compare at all.
Let me ask you this, though. Hold on. I want you to continue with this, but are you directly referencing the Daily Show that my buddy was saying that? Hey,
yes.
Okay, so I can tell him to go to this episode and listen as Blake and I dig into exactly what you're talking about. And I appreciate the conversation. He was polite when he was saying it. I don't mean to be a jerk talking about him. But let's just face it. we disagree on this, and I say, you know, seeking truth, challenging dogma, and having fun here at the New American Media join our mostly civil conversation. And I do appreciate that he was willing to engage me in this conversation. He wasn't rude. He wasn't swearing at me. He wasn't putting me down or anything. But so this is great. We're actually referencing the specific Daily Show that he was referencing, and we're going to debunk it right now on the show. And I can say, hey, check out the podcast, or you know, check out thenewamericanmedia.com and listen to the conversation. Am I hearing that correctly, Blake?
Well, I don't have a point-by-point to go on the Daily Show, and some of my notes blur because there was some of the talking points that they put out yesterday that are kind of shared by a few things, including MSNBC. Because yesterday I did break it down on my show. I just talked a little bit about the Daily Show, and then I also talked a little bit about who is the Chris Hayes, the new guy on MSNBC. He doesn't have transcripts available. We both went over the Rachel Maddow transcript, and I also went after a Daily Kos article. And I don't know if I got to the Think Progress stuff, but yeah, I usually go piece by piece. I didn't go through the whole thing on Daily Show. That wasn't really the whole point of it, but there was a few things that they were trying to use as their talking points, including quoting the. I don't know if this was on the Daily Show or not, where they were quoting the. They were saying that they couldn't make a rescue attempt. That would have been impossible, even though it was, you know, between 7 and 8 hours long. And one of the reasons they quote is because George Little said they couldn't do it. And George Little, as it turns out, is nothing more than the Pentagon press secretary. So that's like Jay Carney making a statement saying they couldn't have gotten there on time. Like, who is he to judge?
Thank you. You know
How
what?
would he know?
That is such a great point you bring up. They couldn't have gotten there in time. And I brought this point up yesterday on your radio show.
You realize who they're quoting on that? Their source is a press secretary, not a general, not somebody that's on the ground, not somebody that knows anything, not a diplomat, not a higher up. As a freaking press secretary.
Well, and you know what? What I said yesterday is you live in Las Vegas, Blake, and you've seen quite a few prize fights in your day. You know, whether you've, you know, or whatnot. How can you say, well, you know, this fight's going to be over in the second round, so there's no time to go get some popcorn or something, or you don't know how long a fight is going to last.
Yeah, this is like before you know, the health came in, or what the regulations came in with boxing back in the day when, you know, they might go 30 or 40 rounds or something. It was bare knuckle stuff. And you really didn't know how long these things were going to last. That was before they put in the bell and the time limits and had the judges score. You know, they had 12 rounds tops. That was way before it was regulated. So yeah, it's like saying, how long do you know it's going to go? So you don't.
That's like handlebar mustaches. And what was that Tom Cruise movie where he was bare knuckle fighting? Do you remember?
Man, he's like the Irish Immigrant with Nicole Kidman.
Far and Away? What was it called?
That's what I think it was Far and Away.
Yeah, 1992. There we go.
You got it.
Yeah, he's a local bare hands boxer, and he rides glory until he's beaten. 1992, Far and Away with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. Check it out, Far and Away, the Benghazi story. Anyway, sorry, I went into goofy radio guy voice, but please go ahead.
That works. Nice, like a good morning zoo crew guy.
But you had no idea how long it was going to last. Sorry, I really, that is so insane. I do radio, and I've actually had people like, hey, you have a good radio voice. I'm like, that's just my talking voice, and cool, because like I don't think about it. If I thought about it to like actually be confident about having a good radio voice, I probably would have never done radio. I just talk. I don't know. It's just my voice. I can't do that crazy guy voice. I mean, I probably can, but like I can't do it with a straight face, and I can't do it for more than 5 seconds. Like I'm cracking up right now, just goofing around with it. But yeah, that's the point. You have the press secretary saying, well, we wouldn't have been able to get there in time. How in the hell did you know? When you get an SOS, guys, we're getting murdered here. We're under attack. They're setting our building on fire. Help. For the love of God, help. Click. The phone goes off. Well, should we do something? Blake, should we do something? Or should we not do something? I don't know. Can we get there in time? Yeah, I don't know. Can I watch it for several hours? And I mean, instantly, you get a call of 911, a building's on fire, you deploy the fire station, the fire department. Go! Get a vehicle and go. Drive. Just get there as soon as you can right now. Go. Why in the world didn't that happen? That could have saved them within 7 hours. This whole story is so I think it is so much more sinister than you and I even have an idea of, because it makes no sense at all. None of it makes a lick of sense.
I just don't want to speculate, because then I'm getting into the
hold on. No. I see. Well, what I like to do here is speculate by putting it out there. You've heard other people speculate about what? In what realm could it actually make sense if it happened? What way? We're not saying we believe it, but under what realm?
Just to give you an idea, then there's a possibility that they could have been using arms. Yes, trading arms to Syria, to Al-Qaeda, or to radical Islamic groups to fight in proxy wars or what have you, and that the ambassador was involved in that, and that either maybe he wanted to, he didn't like doing it anymore, and they thought he might blow the whistle on them, so they allowed him to die, or were they trying to set up a kidnapping, and then they were going to try to trade him for the blind sheik. There's a few different ideas of going around on why they would allow this to happen and why they wouldn't make a rescue attempt. And if they are doing some very dirty stuff down there, Iran-Contra type of, or who knows what have you. But if they're giving weapons to people they shouldn't be giving weapons to and trying to keep that from the public, then yeah, I guess they could conceivably try to get away with something, but it didn't obviously work. And
they got the really election. They got 4 more years. They got to say.
And it was 2 months right in front of the election, which would have basically ended that. That would have been really embarrassing to lose the presidency 2 months before the election because of a giant scandal.
Okay, so how many of these talking points are we on now? We're on what, number 6?
No, what was I on? We just did number 3. So we got number 4. We got a small armed U.S. force in Tripoli was told it did not have the authority to deploy to Benghazi in the midst of the attack twice. So it says flight time between the two cities is less than an hour. Members of the would-be rescue contingent were furious over this obstruction. The witnesses said they did not know who ultimately gave the stand-down orders or why. So if it was not the commander-in-chief calling the shots, why not, and where was he? So this whistleblower, another whistleblower, Mark Thompson, a career counterterrorism official at the state, said he called the White House to request the immediate deployment of a foreign emergency support team to Benghazi, but he was told it was not the right time to do so.
Not the right time. Not the right time.
Yep,
what does that mean?
And it's basically a BS answer. I guess they wanted them to. I don't know. I want to get into speculation, and that's one of the things that Jon Stewart was basically getting into, was showing all these Republican types and pundits and what have you speculating about what if it's the case that Obama was involved in this, and he was kind of made it into a boy who cried wolf, and that they've been bringing up examples of other times where they've made some big fuss over something. I mean, it just got really ridiculous, but I don't want to get sidetracked into that again. But the point is, I'm going to dovetail this into a little article here. I'm just pulling up out of InfoWars. From a congresswoman, Obama gave Benghazi stand-down order. Now, they're not really saying that she has proof of that, but basically she was on the the Dana Lash show. She's a talk show radio host, Fox. Is she a contributor or just a guest sometimes? But I guess she was on the Dana Lash show talking to Ann Wagner, Republican of Missouri. And Dana says, because you have been an ambassador, you have been overseas with similar responsibilities and similar missions. Who gives such an order to stand down? Where does that come from? And Wagner replied, the President of the United States. So we're not sure, but the only person that's really, I guess, in the chain of command that is, qualified to give a stand-down order would be Obama. So that's why this is really could be so damaging, because it could go all the way to the top. And if Obama is caught, basically giving that stand-down order, and these people died on his watch, and he could have saved them, I mean, that is grounds for impeachment.
Wow.
But that's Yeah, so we're talking. This is a big deal.
It just doesn't make sense to me, Blake. If you made a mistake in the beginning, why don't you save him at the end? It's like they wanted him dead. It's like they wanted him dead. Like this was a hit.
Yes.
Larry is one of the regular callers that calls up Blake's Eccentric Perspective show all the time. By the way, you can check him out. Go to freedomizerradio.com and check out. Yes, that's Freedomizer. It's a fake word. Freedomizerradio.com. Noon to 1:30 p.m. Pacific. That's Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's Eccentric Perspective. Sign up for the podcast. But there's a regular caller, Larry. He does a show on the network too, and he always calls in and gives everyone grief, and it's fun. Good times with Larry the trucker. What do we call him? Uncle Larry? Uncle Larry. But
you call him Uncle Larry. Go ahead.
Well, actually, somebody else called him Uncle Larry, and I just kept going because it was kind of ridiculous, but it seemed to make sense. Anyway, but he was saying it looked. I think it was in our chat yesterday. He said it looks like a hit. This looks like a hit, like a mob hit.
There are some. He's saying some of the talking points, I believe, put out there by investigative journalist Wayne Madsen, as well as another big insider, real big intelligence insider, Dr. Steve Pachenik. So there are some big people. I might even be Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Schaefer as well. I'm not 100% on that. But, yeah, there are some pretty big people that are also saying this. So with inside info on that they did want the ambassador dead for whatever reason, to cover up a little dirty little secret they had in Benghazi. I'm not quite sure. I can't speculate, and that's why we got to get Hillary back and subpoena her and get those questions answered.
Let's get down to it. But really, Blake, it happened a long time ago. What difference at this point does it make?
I know it's funny you say that because it happened a long time ago. But one of the other talking points that the liberal media is trying to push out there is, all of this stuff that happened in Beirut like 30 years ago under Reagan's watch. It's like, so Benghazi 8 months ago. That's way too long ago. But let's bring up all the stuff that happened under Reagan 30 years ago, and that's all of a sudden relevant, of course. So yeah, they're really desperate to deflect attention away from Benghazi. It's really hilarious when you're paying attention to this stuff and you're watching how the liberal media and pundits are running cover right now to protect Obama. And they basically sold their souls on October 24th. That was the day, as we say, the day the liberal media died. That's the day they decided that instead of reporting the news, even though it was damaging to their guy, they decided to run cover for him instead to protect the presidency and protect the election. So they drew their line in the sand, and that's another one of the after effects. If it does lead to impeachment, what's going to be done to the media that was basically being lapdogs and protecting the corrupt president and the administration?
Fox News lied about weapons of mass destruction, and they had the Bush's corporations and oil in Bush. That's a
great one. That's awesome, Brian, because that's the other thing. When you look at those message boards and you look at the liberal media and when their coverage, that's another one of those things you'll see. It's not, let's talk about Benghazi. You're like, really? That's crazy. I can't believe that happened. No, it's, Bush and Cheney and the weapons of mass destruction. What were you guys doing then? Huh? What did you care when 1 million Iraqis died? Huh? What were you saying when 3,000 people died? It's just, are you kidding me? Why can't you just talk about your own scandal and deal with your own thing? You've always got to talk about the other administration, or now they're bringing up Beirut from 30 years ago. It's really transparent and sad, but it's kind of funny at some level as well.
What is the name of that comedian? He does the Bush oil comedy bit. Louis C.K. Never mind. Go ahead. I'm gonna see if I can pull it up because I was paraphrasing the little joke that I.
Well, I love Louis C.K. I didn't know he did much political humor, but if you got that quote, I'd be happy to hear that.
Yeah,
not Louis Black. No, Louis C.K., huh?
Louis C.K., yeah. Go ahead, read the next one. I'm going to see if I can find this one. He drove past George Bush. Anyway, I'll go ahead and keep going. Let me see if I can find this one for
you. All right. Number 5, the U.S. security chief in Libya, Eric Nordstrom, averred that Secretary Clinton absolutely would have been briefed on his and Stevens' repeated requests for an increased security presence in Libya. This claim undercut committee Democrats nitpicking over whether Clinton's signature appeared on the memo denying those requests. Yeah, and that was a big deal. Because, you had liberal people in the media. I was watching that Chris Hayes show, speaking of which, and they had some Congress lady on there along with Eric Boehlert, the Media Matters hack, and they were having a discussion. What was her name? I think it's Cynthia Maloney, or I forget her right. All I have is Maloney down here. But anyway, yes, they were going nuts about, we got to go after ISA, and they're bringing up these talking points about, how ISA got 4 Pinocchios from the Washington Post fact finder, because they were there was a controversy over whether Hillary Clinton actually knew that there were requests for additional security, and they were using the fact that she has her signature on every one of these memos. But it turns out that she basically has her signature on everything, so then they use that as an excuse to say, well, then she hadn't really seen it because she's got her signature on everything that she sends out.
So if the signature's on everything, how do you actually show that she did see it?
Yeah, but I guess this is a contradiction because this Eric Nordstrom said that Secretary Clinton absolutely would have been briefed on this, not just seen it, but actually been briefed because they had so many repeated requests for an increased security presence, and she's right at the top. So how would she not know that? So anyway. So, furthermore, the Benghazi compound was operating below the bare minimum global security standard for U.S. diplomatic missions, despite being in an exceedingly dangerous place, and it doesn't mention that it's also on the anniversary of 9/11, and having been subjected to previous attempted attacks. Yes, these buildings are just regular people just have, done stuff, plus there was other countries that were in that area that also got out of there because it was such a hot zone. But it was almost like they left it with like a very minimum security, like, not to get into that speculation again, but like they just wanted something to go wrong. They wanted to bury some evidence. So, cover up their little secret, whatever they had going on there, but we'll find out during the next testimony, I suppose. So, I guess that's number 5. Should I continue?
Let me see what this one is. We're just gonna go. We're just gonna fly blind with Louis C.K. I don't know if I'm gonna get the one I'm looking for. I have no idea.
Yeah, be careful. He swears a lot.
This is my fantasy. I want to be the comedian who does political shit, but he doesn't know what you're supposed to make fun of.
There you go.
But he really wants to talk about the news.
Did I just call it?
He's like, hey, George Bush. Hey, you fat shit. Eat another fucking donut, you.
All right.
Okay, number 1, I warned you. He said, I don't want to be the political guy, because, like I said, I don't know if CK does political stuff. And I said, yeah, you better be careful. He might swear. Boom, 2 S-bombs and the mother F-bomb. That was awesome. That was poetic.
Woo!
All right,
Fun
but you
times.
did get the great clip. You get congratulations.
Yeah, that's a winner chicken dinner. So but by the way, Blake, that's something when we work on that other show that I think we're gonna roll out at some point, maybe in 2018 if it ever happens. Just kidding, it'll be in the next few months, seriously. But we'll have to edit something like that out. But anyway, he just did this whole skit. I forget under what context and what concert it was. He's like, yeah, I'm not really too political, and for several years there during the first and then second terms of George Bush, I was right along with him saying, yeah. George Bush and Iraq and oil and corporations and and he just did this whole thing how like he was railing against Bush, but he didn't even know what he was talking about. He was just absorbing the talking points and regurgitating them back. And then he drove past him one day, and he felt like a giddy little school child or something in the motorcade. He's like, George Bush! And he's waving like he was all excited, and he's like, what the heck just happened? Anyway, that's the point I was trying to make, and maybe I'll edit that out in post. Maybe I won't. Who cares? Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, it's all good.
I tried, Blake. We need a real producer on this program.
Hey, you didn't swear. Technically, that was Louis C.K.
And you know what? That just accidentally popped up on my screen He did that of his own free will and accord, I tells you. Why, I never. Heavens to Murgatroyd. That guy in his foul mouth, I tell you. Anyway, I'm done.
Right.
Go ahead, continue.
All right, number 6. Ambassador Stevens was stationed at the vulnerable Benghazi compound on a dangerous symbolic date at the behest of Secretary Clinton. Okay, they do mention the date. Who wished to make diplomatic mission a permanent outpost. This detail should only intensify questions as to why the consulate was so poorly protected. And I guess that goes right into number 7, which is Nordstrom stated that the elements of the lightly armed Libyan militia group tasked with protecting the consulate were certainly complicit in the attacks. No U.S. Marines were present at the time, and Hicks estimated that at least 60 terrorists swarmed into the compound during the attack. 8 months later, 0 arrests have been made.
No. There was one arrest. The guy that made the horribly offensive YouTube video.
Right. Yeah, he didn't have anything to do with it, and he's rotting in a jail cell going, what did I do, man? But anyway, moving on, number 8, a mortally wounded Ambassador Stevens was taken to a hospital controlled by the Islamist extremist group Ansar al-Sharia, primarily responsible for the assault.
Unbelievable.
And administration officials initially pointed to locals rushing Stevens to a local hospital as evidence of a local goodwill from protesters who didn't approve of the mob spinning out of control. Hicks said the American contingent did not go to retrieve Stevens from said hospital during the fight because they were fearful that it was a trap. Wow. All right. So
it's out of the frying pan
and
into the fire, man. Like they take him to a. I just can't believe it. Then they take him to a hospital that's run by the bad guys. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. This is just so disgusting on every single level, man. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Number 9, U.S. government did not seek permission from the Libyan government to fly any aircraft into Libyan airspace, aside from a drone. The witnesses testify that they believe the Libyan government would have complied with any such request. The fact that none was even made indicates that there was never a plan or intention to rush reinforcements to Benghazi. So it wasn't like they, called up and said, hey, do you think that if we want to make a rescue attempt or there's some things going on and we might need to fly a plane through there, you think that's cool? Is that good? They didn't even make that call at all. So they had no intention. That's pretty telling right there.
But didn't we topple Libya anyway? Don't we run Libya anyway? Who are we asking? Aren't we the ones in charge there? Who needs permission for that? I mean, I get what you're supposed to do politically, but didn't we topple Gaddafi? Didn't we take him down anyway? What do you mean ask permission? Get the hell out of here. Not you, Blake, but I mean...
I hear you.
Who needs to ask for permission? He was removed by us. We control the airspace, don't we?
Yeah, it wasn't Gaddafi that we had to ask. It was basically the person that I don't know if we necessarily put him in. I'm sure that it had something to do with it. I don't remember the exact circumstances, but yeah, the Libyan thing was conquered, and there was a new regime in place of sorts, and there was a president there. So anyway, but so that was another point there. So it makes the would they have made it on time argument largely irrelevant. But anyway, the assault because the assault lasted for 8 hours and took place in 2 waves at 2 different compounds. And then it goes into your point: how could anyone have known how long the fighting would last? So, and help was never on the way. It was never intended to. It was never sent. So we can get to ready to go to number 10, Brian.
10 it is.
3 more. We got 3 more. And despite committee Democrats' repeated claims and leading questions, reduced funding or austerity had absolutely nothing to do with the inadequate security presence on the ground. Oh, by the way, that was another thing that Jon Stewart mentioned. And I don't know if that was on Chris Hayes or Maddow as well. But, to shift the blame, I guess it's the Republicans' fault because they wanted to, cut some of the money that was caused, for some of the security forces that we had, I guess. So I guess now it's their fault. But anyway, the State Department itself made this fact crystal clear at previous hearings, as did the administration, that the internal ARB review. Why did multiple Democrats flog an obsolete, thoroughly debunked explanation, if not to muddy the waters? Like anybody was just going to deny requests for extra security by saying that we didn't have enough money. That's a lot of BS.
It was the sequester.
But yes, it was the sequester. But yeah, it looks like they're trying to shift the blame on the Republicans for that. So yeah, it was the Republicans' fault that there wasn't more people there. Security. All right, number 11. Oversight Democrats tried to cast doubt on Mark Thompson's credibility, suggesting that he declined to participate in the administration's ARB probe. Thompson corrected the record, noting that he offered his services to those investigators, who in turn did not invite him to testify. Democrats also claim that the House hearings were slanted because the leaders of the ARB investigation were not invited to participate. But in fact, Chairman Issa explicitly did invite them, as confirmed by letters obtained by ABC News. They chose not to participate. Democrats were dead wrong on both counts. So that's another big bombshell. And lastly, during her congressional testimony on Benghazi, Secretary Clinton memorably asked, "What difference does it make in regards to the provenance of the administration's incorrect talking points?" Gregory Hicks and Eric Nordstrom both attempted to answer that question. Hicks did so in granular detail. And an emotional Nordstrom was more general, and he said, "We lost friends, the truth matters." Yeah, that was tough to watch because Nordstrom was actually, tearing up, very emotional, big deal. So that's what happened in Washington on Wednesday, in case you missed it. A damning dozen, the 12 revelations from Benghazi. So, yeah, it's quite a big deal, I would say.
It is to some of
That's
us.
Just the beginning.
That's
just the beginning.
Okay. Well, what? All right. Well, you say it's the beginning. What's the next step now? So what? They talked. What happens?
Well, as I said, Chaffetz has said that Hillary must testify again about the Benghazi attack. So it's not known when they have an immediate date to issue a subpoena. But yeah, they got some testimony here that contradicts what was said. So it's time to put her under oath and start asking some more questions, and get to the truth.
All right, so you obviously
will
think
it lead to Obama? We don't know.
You obviously think it's important that we dig around on this a little bit, then.
Yeah, a little bit, just a little bit.
Well, that's fair enough, Blake. I think for now, I think that's where we're going to leave it. Is just all of the Benghazi nonsense.
Or should I leave you with 3 quick things of 3 reasons Benghazi still matters? Out of Reason.com. They put up a little video with Nick Gillespie.
Yeah, give me 3 reasons why it still matters. Go.
All right, number 1, we still don't know what really happened. The Benghazi attack marked the first time in more than 3 decades that a U.S. ambassador was killed in the field. Yet after these hearings and the State Department's own accountability review, we still don't know why the consulate was so poorly protected and why the military didn't or couldn't respond in a timely fashion. Pleading incompetence or the fog of war isn't an answer. Number 2, U.S. officials keep attacking free speech as the cause of the attack.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. Thank you. You're going to blame speaking out and using the First Amendment. It has a chilling effect on people speaking their mind. And when you get up as President of the United States and say the future does not belong to those who would insult the Prophet of Islam in front of the United Nations, and you jail a guy because he made a stupid video criticizing that religion. You know what? People have the right to be stupid in this country. They don't have the right to just be disappeared by someone who doesn't like the fact that they're criticizing their spiritual dogma. I'm sorry. That's not how this works. There isn't Sharia law here. Thank you for saying that. Okay, thank you for bringing that up. You and Reason.
That's for Nick Gillespie.
Yeah,
those are his
Reason.
words, but exactly. Yes. So number 3, we still don't have a foreign policy in the Middle East or anywhere else. So how does the murder of an ambassador to a country we helped liberate reflect on the way in which we got involved in Libya? President Obama dispatched forces without consulting Congress. A U.S. involvement in Syria and elsewhere heats up. The absolute lack of a coherent, much less constitutional, foreign policy will only lead to more tragedies, both in the Middle East and throughout the world. And yes, that kind of ties into the whole Syria thing. Who are we helping? Who are the bad guys? Are we arming, radical Islamists? Are they fighting proxy wars for us? Is this a good idea to have them take over Syria? Or is it better to just let the regime stay the way it is? So this could be a big deal, because this could lead to the, you're talking about speculating. That's one of the things. Are we secretly arming Al-Qaeda? Why are we basically handed over Libya to them? So I don't know. We let them kind of take over in other regions. So I don't know.
Yay, Muslim Brotherhood! Give them arms, give them arms, give them arms. Yeah, that sure should work out well. It did so well with the Mujahideen over in Afghanistan with Osama bin Laden against the Russians. I love playing global politics. It's so fun, and it always works out so perfectly. Blake, we're out of time. 25 seconds. Tell everybody where they can find you and stay connected.
EccentricPerspective.com, but please follow me on Twitter, Eccentric99. Also, FreedomizedRadio.com, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 12 to 1:30 Pacific. iTunes podcast, Eccentric Perspective. Thank you again, Brian. It was a pleasure to be here, as always.
Hey, you know what? Appreciate it as always. Thank you again, buddy. You have a great weekend. We'll talk soon. That was Blake the Eccentric Walley. My name's Brian Engelman. You've been listening to Agree to Disagree here on thenewamericanmedia.com. Go to youtube.com and subscribe to youtube.com/The New American Media. We appreciate that. We're getting up to 100,000 video views. We want you to help. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter. We're at American_media_. Search The New American Media on Facebook and like our page. And check out our homepage, thenewamericanmedia.com, for everybody here at the TNAM Radio Network. My name's Brian Engelman. Appreciate you. Love you. Thanks for listening. Special thanks to Ben Weinbrower, Zach Barris, and Blake Walley.
You are listening to The New American Media.